They like trap music, but that's not me. They like pop music, but that's not me. I'm the baby face that will put you in your place, set you up, take it safe, then vanish without a trace. They like Balenciaga, but that's not me. They like Dolce Gabbana, but that's not me. I'm the baby face that will put you in your place, take your girl to your face.
The next topic we're going to discuss on Boxing Bros are comments made by Mauricio Sulaiman. Mauricio Sulaiman was a guest on the Ak and Barack show. And here's what he had to say.
When you say that some things need to be revamped in the system, can you give us an example of things that might need to be looked at to be changed?
Yes, the timing. The WBC has been very flexible, and we have extremely proven through the pandemic that we have given the promoters and the champions and the challengers all the flexibility and the support throughout this moment because there's so many limitations. But there are times where a mandatory should not be pushed and enforced unless it is a proven situation where that fighter has the absolute level to be in the fight of the level of the champion. The mandatory rule is the best rule in the sport because Archie Moore, Mantequilla Nápoles, they waited 5 and 6.
Basically, what he's trying to say is he's saying this in response to Yildirim being the mandatory, fighting Canelo and getting absolutely smoked, that he's looking to revamp, the WBC is looking to revamp their mandatory requirement so that guys like Yildirim don't become mandatory. And if a guy like Yildirim is the mandatory, the champion can take other fights that may be more lucrative and better for the sport before they're forced to fight someone like Yildirim, who everyone knows and perceives isn't on the level of a Canelo. However, the mandatory rule is the best rule in the sport, so you want to make sure you honor it. But there are times where you should probably have exceptions to where, okay, this guy's the mandatory, he earned mandatory status, but like there are better fights out there for the champ, so let the champ fight those fights. So, Conspira G, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe I interpreted it a little different.
Okay, what
it sounds like to me is what he's saying is if a mandatory opponent isn't to the caliber of the champion, then they don't have to honor the mandatory. And I don't like that. You know what I mean? What they should do is just revamp the requirements for mandatory status. Because Yildirim should have never been the mandatory for Canelo anyways. Homie was inactive for 2 years, and his last fight, he actually lost. So I'm like, how do you get mandatory status when, you're not even in the ring anymore? And the last time you was in there, you got beat up by Darrell. You know what I mean? So that fight just did not make any sense. So I think what it is he's like, all right, yo, we're getting embarrassed out here because so many people complain like, oh, why is Canelo fighting this guy? And then you can't blame Canelo because it's a mandatory. You can only blame the WBC, And so the WBC is now like, oh, okay, well, we're going to change some rules where if you ain't to the status of the fighter, then you may not get that, we may not honor that mandatory. That sounds like corruption to me. It should literally be set clear standards of what a mandatory fighter or a mandatory slot should be. You know what I mean? And once you establish that, then it's one of those, hey, you're mandatory because you went up the ranks and you beat whoever you needed to beat to get your championship shot. Other than that, man, I just feel like this is an excuse for a person like a Canelo Alvarez, where you could be like, yo, Canelo doesn't have to fight his mandatories anymore under the WBC. And I don't like that. I think Canelo and whoever else, regardless of the governing body, there's mandatories for a reason. It gives everyone an equal opportunity. As long as you work hard, you move up the ranks, you should get the opportunity at the belt. Regardless if you're unknown or what have you. You could be from a third world country or developing country, or you could be from, the highest or the number one promoter in the game. It doesn't matter. You worked your way up and you get the opportunity to actually fight the champion. Other than that, man, if they're not going to allow mandatories, that same opportunity as if they were to other popular people, then it's not fair. And that to me is like corruption.
My dollar Bizzle.
When he's talking, it sounded to me like he was saying, what we're doing is coming up with a better situation, better things that we can do to cover up the BS that we're doing now. The BS that we're doing. You know what I'm saying? That's what it sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying? Like when they used to be like, we're going to investigate ourselves and come out with an outcome. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't make no sense. He's a smooth guy. He know what he's doing, man. They just crooks.
Yo, you see how y'all call me flip-flop G? Mauricio Sulaiman flip-flops every interview, son. Like, yo, this guy's never consistent, man. So I'm just saying, it should be flip-flop Sulaiman. You know what I mean?
Nah, it's the WBC.
Y'all should compete for the belt. Y'all should compete for the WBC title to see who.
I don't want it.
We be changing. That's the WBC.
We be changing.
Slipper, dog. If I'm flip-flop G, he's Sulaiman the slipper. Let's get it.
Oh, with it. I don't have nothing to say about this guy. He is, man, listen, he is as slick as his hair.
Oh, man.
All right, TV.
Man, I hear what he's saying, but I don't feel it, man. You know, yeah, you trying to make things and correct things with the mandatory fights, but I'm just saying, like when Brazil fought Wilder, Brazil was inactive for how long? Yeah, he beat Carlos Negron, but it's just like there's certain things I don't understand. Like if a fighter's inactive for 2 years, he has to at least have like 3 fights. There has to be a ranking system in all title and all the title companies, because I can't be out 2 years and come back fight one guy that I have a title shot. You have to have at least 3 to 2 fights before that, because you gotta redeem yourself. There's a road to redemption. And after a loss, it's not like you get a win. It's not like you're inactive 2 years after a win. So I just don't understand it. How somebody who loses, because now you drop a spot, and then you're inactive 2 years. Now you're dropping more spots because people are moving up in these rankings. So for me, they gotta really like look at it and get it figured out. But you know, it's
structure it better.
Yeah, structure that. Yeah, get it fixed out. You know, but that's it.
Yo, this is funny to me. It's laughable to me. It's like, I'm going to fix the problem that I created. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I create this problem, but lucky for you, I'm going to fix it. And you should thank me for it. You're like, shut up. Like, bro, you have Dillian White, who's been beating some of the best guys in his division back to back to back to back to back. And you don't force the champion to fight him. You allow the champion to fight guy who's been inactive for over a year, like Bermain, for a guy who's been inactive for over a year, like Brazil. But then you got Canelo Yildirim. This guy was inactive, and then he lost his last fight, and you make him the mandatory. And now you're sitting here saying, yeah, we gotta revamp the system, because you know it's not right, but the mandatory is the best thing because Archie Moore. Don't bring Archie Moore up. It has nothing to do with Archie Moore. Archie Moore was a hell of a fighter. Was a terrific fighter. He had to wait years, and we can go into other things, but it was more to Archie Moore's weight than just the way the system was structured. Yeah, because back then the system was structured in a different way too. So we're not gonna sit here and bring up Archie Moore and all these other guys. This is simple. This isn't as complicated as that. This is just simply, why the hell did you make Yildirim the mandatory? And also, why wouldn't you just let Canelo fight someone else? So I hear G's interpretation, and I don't want to say G's interpretation is wrong, but if G's absolutely right in his interpretation, I feel like it would be illegal. So I feel like it would be lawsuits out the wazoo. So that's why I feel like what he was saying was, if a mandatory challenger isn't perceived as being on the level as a champion like Yildirim and Canelo, rather than forcing Canelo to fight Yildirim, the WBC will allow Canelo to fight someone else, like say Caleb or Billy Joe Saunders. So they would have been able to just go straight into Billy Joe Saunders' fight without him having to fight Yildirim. And then they say, well, Yildirim, you fight someone else to prove that you're on the level of the champion. And then he does that, and then he can get his shot later. That's what it sounded like to me. So it didn't sound like they were going to bypass mandatories, because he went into the fact that it was important for people like Archie Moore. But what I think he's saying is, when you have someone who rises to the top as a mandatory, and it's like, yo, everybody knows this. Everyone knows Pulev is going to get smoked. Although Pulev wasn't a mandatory for WBC. It's just an example I'm using, because, you know, you got to be real thorough with what you say, because people are waiting to try to catch you in something like you don't know what, like, dog, I know. So, but anyways, so like, you know, Pulev and Joshua, everyone knew it was going to be a wash, most likely. It was going to take a miracle. The punch from the gods is what Andy Ruiz's punch was called. It was going to take punch from gods, multiple gods, for Pulev to win that fight. So, you know, I think what he's saying is, where scenarios like that, you might as well just let Joshua go straight to Fury. You might as well let these guys go straight to the big fight. So why are we delaying and doing all this? What, like, Yildirim showed up, like I said, for a meet and greet. Oh, by the way, I know he met Canelo before the fight. Like, I've been watching boxing my whole life. I know there's a press conference. I know people spar. I know you meet people outside the gym. My point was, he was starstruck in the ring. Ooh, makes sense now, doesn't it? Anyways, like I'm saying. So the bottom line is, you know, in the end, Mauricio Sulaiman, you need to come up with a more thorough system. You need to make people mandatory who really deserve to be mandatory. And in the event that there's someone that's a mandatory, like a Yildirim, who actually earned it and wasn't coming off a layoff and a loss, but there's a bigger fight out there for the champion, let the champion fight the bigger fight before you enforce the mandatory. And I think that will fix everything. Because if you wanted to make Yildirim the mandatory, people wouldn't be crying if it wasn't in the way of Billy Joe Saunders, if it wasn't in the way of Caleb Plant. We just made this one big AD tour to get to the same place that we all knew was going, where it was going to go, but you had to make everyone, you know, when you're driving and you want to go, you got to take this annoying detour. That's what Yildirim was. So stop giving us detours, and then we'll be happy.
I like to say this. I don't like how they're trying to stress my man Canelo out, dog. This man doing so much right now. Now you want him to fight. He just fought in December. He fought in February. And now y'all trying to change. They're trying to change the game where he got to fight top tier competition 5 times a year, man. It's ridiculous, man. You know he fighting in May, and he's gonna try to fight on Independence Day, and then he's gonna fight in December. I'm just saying, it's give my man.
One thing you can count on from Sulaiman is, you know, WBC, we be capping. Please like and subscribe. Let us know how you feel in the comment section. Check us out on Twitter, Instagram, and please check out our podcast on all major streaming services. We are the Boxing Bros.
Man, the slipper.
Slipper man.